just got back from vacation. We went to Florida. It was really nice.
Hi, I'm Steven. I'm here for my orientation with Laura.
Oh, hi, Steven. She'll be right out. So, Sue, I saw that your ex-husband applied for Medi-Cal.
He
Hi,
used his
I'm
mother's
Laura.
address
Steven.
instead
Nice to
of
meet
his
you.
girlfriend's. What do you think about that?
Would you take a seat, please, and I'll be right with you.
Yeah, I know.
Can I see you in my office, please?
Oh, sure. Sue, I'll call you back. Bye-bye.
I overheard you disclosing confidential information. Confidential information should never be disclosed to parties who do not have a need to know, and it is considered a breach of confidentiality and a violation of the Welfare and Institution Code Section 10850. It is a misdemeanor to disclose confidential information without the consent of the customer.
Really? I didn't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure you understood.
Sure, it won't happen again.
All right. Confidentiality is a big deal in this agency, and breaches will not be taken lightly. Employees who unlawfully disclose confidential information are subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. It is a misdemeanor to disclose confidential information without the consent of the customer or to use the information for any unrelated purpose. There are forms that the customer must sign to authorize release of information by the Department of Social and Employment Services.
What is said in an authorization form?
An authorization form is an explanation of information that will be disclosed or shared with a third party. All authorization forms must be signed and dated by all parties, should specify the type of information to be released, and indicate to whom it is being released.
Do authorizations ever expire?
Yes, authorizations are good for 1 year unless an alternative expiration date is given by the customer. Telephone authorizations are acceptable if the customer adequately identifies him or herself. However, telephone authorizations are only temporary and must be followed up by a written authorization.
How will I know if I'm breaching confidentiality?
Well, confidentiality includes names, addresses, email addresses, numbers such as birth documents, social security numbers, driver's license, medical information, credit cards, and finance, and any other information concerning the circumstances of any individual who works for this agency, receives services from this agency, or is connected in any way with this agency. This also includes both written and oral information obtained during the course of providing or obtaining services. Let me take you on a tour.
We employ over 800 individuals in Salinas, King City, and Seaside, as well as serve over 400,000 residents in Monterey County. Our programs include employment services, family and children's services, as well as programs for older adults and teens.
Oh no. Is he going to be in trouble for disclosing information?
Not at all. Public information, such as statistical or general information, is not considered confidential. However, it's not always black and white. You must use good judgment when disclosing information. If in doubt, ask your supervisor or program manager.
Will I have to deal with confidential information?
Certainly, all employees deal with confidential information, including temporary and volunteer staff. Confidentiality impacts all areas of the Department of Social and Employment Services and requires a cooperative staff effort, especially when the need for information under one program crosses the boundaries of another program. Confidentiality rules also apply to councils and commissions who may spend a lot of time in the work area and unintentionally come across confidential information.
How does confidential information get released?
Well, confidential information is handled and released in ways such as electronic emails, databases, over the telephone, physically with customer and employee files. Because of our increasing electronic communication, measures must be taken to ensure confidentiality when communicating with customers over the internet. When communicating with customers via email, Employees must always inform the customer in person that they will be contacted via email and assure that this is a secure form of communication.
What's the best way to contact you?
Email.
Great. This email address that I have on file for you, is this correct?
Yes.
Is this email address secure? Does anybody else have access to it?
Well, my spouse has access to it, but that's not a problem.
As long as you're okay with that, expect an email from me within the next 2 days.
Further confidential precaution can include a confidentiality notice at the end of every email you send. And never forget to log out of your computer before stepping away from your work area. When a customer brings someone else in, employees must explain that their meeting will cover confidential and personal information.
Hello, Susan. Who has accompanied you today?
Oh, my brother John.
It is important you understand that we will be discussing some personal and confidential information today. Do you want to discuss these personal matters in the presence of your brother?
No. Actually, John, can you step outside?
No problem.
A problem that occurs frequently is when an employee openly confirms an individual's connection to the agency. There may be a situation when an ex-spouse is looking for information or the whereabouts of an employee or a customer, and there is a restraining order against them. Stephen, when a person asks about whether an individual is known to the agency, what would be the better response?
Let me transfer you to her caseworker.
Or,
let me transfer you to someone who might be able to help you.
I'm not sure. What's the difference?
well, the difference is when Robert said, "Let me transfer you to her caseworker," he was confirming that the person being asked for is directly connected with the agency. However, when Isaac said, "Let me transfer you to someone who might be able to help," he was not confirming that the person being requested was known to the agency. Even just taking a message with the name and number to call back will not confirm to the caller that the person being requested is known to the agency.
That lady I was working with earlier, did you see her? Yeah, that's the one. She's going to appear in court for child neglect next week. Could you imagine?
Discussion of case information or personal matters should not be shared with coworkers who do not have a need to know. Nor should such information be shared in a non-confidential setting, other than with the supervisor in a work area. That means confidential information may not be shared in hallways, coffee rooms, or outside of the office. Unless your office has a paper shredder, before disposing of any document that contains confidential information, you must be sure to shred, tear, or cut it sufficiently so that the confidential information is destroyed. Large amounts of information, such as entire case files, printouts, lists, or other reports, are disposed of by the Monterey County Records Retention Center. All around the agency you will find big blue bins with locks, where large amounts of sensitive information can be disposed. If the information is highly sensitive, shredding is recommended. In releasing information to a public or private agency, the following guidelines can be used. Does the request come from an agency providing a service to the customer? Is the information requested necessary for them to perform that service? Is there a need to know? Would it be a benefit to the customer to release the information? And would it complement the services being performed by our agency? Does the agency understand that the information is confidential, and do they have confidentiality rules? Is there a release of information document attached and signed by the client? If the answer to all of the above is yes, then the information may be released. If in doubt, talk to your supervisor, program manager, or office manager. You know, Stephen, the reason that we take confidentiality in the workplace so seriously is because of the growing cases of identity theft. Identity theft is becoming one of the most common forms of theft in the United States, and this type of crime is devastating to the victim.
I've heard about identity theft before, but I don't really understand what it is.
Well, there are 5 types. There's driver's license, social security number, medical information, and financial. All of the above would be considered complete character identity theft. It is imperative that all DSES employees remain aware of the reality of identity theft. Always assure the safekeeping of all sensitive information, both business and personal.
Is there ever a time when you have to break confidentiality?
Well, yes. Special note must be made on the reporting of child abuse, elder abuse, and dependent adult abuse. All staff are mandated to report such abuse, and failure to report is a misdemeanor. If a situation arises that is not covered by the county or department administrative directives, it should be called to the attention of the office manager or supervisor. And there may be additional confidentiality release rules depending on the particular division of this agency. Refer to your office manager or program manager and/or HR.
Wow. Thank you, Laura. I've learned so much today. I look forward to getting started.
Welcome to the Department of Social and Employment Services.